Okay, so now we're about ready to track our project. Tracking the project means on a day-by-day basis from the point in which the project starts. In this case, it would be 6/5. On a daily basis, we would check in with our resources and see how they're coming along with taking care of each of the tasks. Seeing if they're on schedule, if they've completed their task, if that's that point in time. And the whole idea of doing this is that eventually our boss or our customer or somebody is going to be calling us up and saying, hey, where are we at with the project? Are we on schedule? Are we ahead of schedule? Are we over budget? Are we under budget? Are we going to end when we thought we would end with this project? And those are the kinds of things that you'll be able to answer just by having an active role in tracking your project. Now I'm going to demonstrate to you how this whole process goes. And I'm going to start by telling the computer, or make the computer or the program think that it's a certain point in time since the project started. So the project is supposed to start, what, on 6/5. So I'm going to go in initially. So I'm going to go in and make the computer or the program think that it's June 11th of 2019. Now I'm not going to do that by going in there and trying to change the actual computer's clock. What I'm going to do instead is go in and tell the project that it's a certain date right now. All right. In this case, we're going to make it June 11th. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go back over into project. I'm going to go to project information, and I'm going to tell it that the current date isn't this date here, but rather June 11th. So I'm going to go back into here, this little drop down, bring it back to June. There's the 11th, Tuesday. Click onto that, hit OK, and there we go. Now what you'll notice is this little green vertical line. That's what we call the current date line. All right, so that's showing me and the computer confirming, or the program confirming, that today is now Tuesday the 9th. And you can see that here's Tuesday, and there it is right before Tuesday. It's right on the beginning of Tuesday. So we're going to pretend like, okay, that's now. Okay, so my first thing would be to go over to my first task here, which should be done by now. Okay, as you can see here, you can see that that date line is happening just after that particular bar. So I'm going to get on the phone or whatever with Clutch and say, hey, Clutch, how did it go? Did you get done with the task? And Clutch, of course, says, yes, I did. It went beautifully. Had no problems whatsoever. So then my idea then would be to go back over into the task tab here. And I have this area here called schedule, all right, where I have a number of tools that I'm going to be using to track my project with. So in this case, what's happened is we're right at the very end of when task A was supposed to be done. The manager or the resource for that tells me that it went beautifully. It's all taken care of. It's complete. So then what I'm going to do is, while I'm on that particular task, which I'll just click like that, I go up here and I click on to 100%. So what happens is I get a completion bar, 100% going through the whole thing. The task actually becomes a non-critical task. That's why you saw it turn blue. And the reason why this went from a critical to a non-critical task is because now it's complete. It will have absolutely no bearing on the rest of the project, so therefore it's pretty much deemed to be not critical. It's just more semantics than anything. What you'll also see is over on the far left there, we have a little check mark, and it says the task was completed on Monday, 6/10. So pretty interesting. And now actually my boss wants to know what's going on, and I can actually tell my boss at that point that everything is going beautifully. I can even go over to the project tab, go to my project information, go to my statistics, and I can even go further with stating that we're basically $64,000 or $6,400 into the project. We worked 32 hours in essence, and we've completed 1% of our duration and 1% of the man hours of work. And aside from that, everything is all copacetic. So that's pretty cool. Now we're going to pretend to skip ahead here a little bit. And what we're going to do is tell it now that it is now June, let's say June 16, 17, let's say it's June 18, okay? So we're going to go here to the project information, go over here to our little drop down, and we're going to choose now June 18th, Tuesday. There we go. Hit OK on that, and now you'll see the date line kind of move ahead. Now, if this was in real life, what we would have had to do is wait until this day came about, and if you waited that long and opened up the project, you would see that date line, that green line, where it is now. So what we're trying to do is we're using this this tool of faking the machine out into thinking what the date is, so that we can actually pretend like we're tracking a project. And in essence, we are, right? And we're doing it on a real-time basis almost, right? All right, so now what happens is we get in touch with task number A, or task AB here. Now we're going to end up with some bad news here, because what happened is that because we waited until now to see how it's going with our project, the problem is that when we talk to Gomez and Herman about their task that they're on, they tell us, oh yeah, we actually did finish it, but it actually took us an extra day. And see, we didn't know that because obviously we weren't checking in on them at that time. So anyway, so it ends up being 3 days, but they did finish it. Well, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means it's 100% complete, number one, but it did take an extra day. So what we need to do is go in here into our days area, change that now to 3 days, enter that in, all right? You're going to get that little smart tag as usual. We'll click onto that and we'll say that we did increase the work because they took an extra day. So we just confirm that fact. So there it goes. And we also, while we're on it, can then mark it as complete. So we'll go back to task and we'll click onto 100%. Now, just as a sideline, if you want to get an idea of which tasks at this point you should be checking in on to see where we're at and to be able to update their completion, what you can actually do is you can go over here to the home or to the view tab, right? You can go to the highlighter, click onto that, and choose something here called late tasks. Now when you do that, it will color in yellow, which there aren't too many here. It'll color in yellow those tasks that in which the date line has either touched, is in, or has passed, but they have not been updated as to being up to date based on the current date. And so happens that, well, you're going to get these up here because this is, you know, a summary of everything we've got. But the actual tasks here, this one here and this one here, those are the ones we have to check into. So we go ahead and we say, okay, we give a buzz to you know, Clutch and Herman and ask how are they faring with the tasks that they're on, and they say we're doing just fine, all right, and we plan to be completed on time. We're not going to be taking extra days or anything like that. So at this point, what I'll do is I'll go onto that task. I'll go over here to the task tab. and I'm going to mark them on track. That's going to be this one right here. So I click onto that. There we go. So what happens is you'll see the complete line kind of go through the day. So it's up to the end of the day. The program used to be where it would stop at the beginning, and that didn't really make much sense. So it's kind of a gray area thing, you know. So they, Microsoft finally decided just to keep it where when you complete it, and because today is Tuesday, it just runs it through the whole day there. So we're good on that one. Now, the only problem that you'll have with the highlighting that we did with the filter here, or the highlighter, is that it does. We need the screen to kind of refresh itself, and probably the easiest way to do that would be to go back into go back here, go back to view here, all right, and I can just go back and say, no highlight, and then I can go back in there again and hit my late task here, and now you'll get the one down below here. All right, so now we get on the phone with Gomez and say, hey Gomez, how's it going? And Gomez says, we're doing all right, but I think we're going to be running probably a day late. So in essence, he needs one more day. He's just anticipating that. So I'll say fine. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to increase this then to 5 days, all right, enter that in, go back there, and I can then, hit the smart tag here and confirm what we're doing, all right, and then I can go back up into my task tab and mark it on track. So he's on schedule, he just needs an extra day. All right, so mark on track, there we go. Then I can go back into view, go back to my highlighter, just say no highlight, and we're back to square one with that. Now you're probably wondering what we have now. Well, let's say that our boss calls, or we have to call our boss and let the boss know what's happening, the status of the project. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our project tab, go back to project information, go back to statistics, and there we go. We can tell our boss that by the looks of it, we're going to be finishing 1 day late. So we're going to be, I guess, behind schedule. So we're going to be 1 day at this point. It looks like about 1 day. And at the same time, it also looks like we're going to be spending a little bit more, about $3,200 more due to this fact of what happened, especially with having to extend that one task. So a lot of different things we can kind of report on. It's not going to be good stuff that the boss is going to want to hear, but at least it's it's the truth and it's what's actually happening, right? So the boss, of course, says to us that that's unacceptable. It has to finish on time. We cannot have that happen, where it's going to be late. So my thought is, what can I do to change that? Well, the best thing would be to go and look at some future task that hasn't maybe started yet, one that maybe I can trim up, because I'll tell you, I've done my best to give them the maximum amount of days I think they need, and that's what I based my whole budget on, was certain durations for each of these tasks. So I maybe need to find maybe a future task that would be driven by getting done earlier or sooner if I put more people on it. Because you're going to have certain tasks that could be resource driven, where if we add more resources, the shorter it ends up being. Now, if one task was to drive from point A to point B, right, just because I put double the people on that road trip, the problem with that is that I can't make the vehicle go twice as fast, right? So by adding more people doesn't do that. All right, so I can't really rely on trying to manipulate that type of a task. But if I got another task where if I could put more people on it, it would get done faster, that's the one I would target. So let's just say that that task happens to be this one right here with a Gomez on there, right? So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to call up Gomez. I'm going to say, listen, I need you to get that task done sooner. Gomez says, there's no way I can't work any faster. I need the 3 days. I say, well, how about if I add another person? How about that? And Gomez says, well, if you can do that, then we can knock that down and get it done sooner, obviously. So that's what I do. So I go back to my resource tab, go to my assign resources. As you can see, Gomez is currently on it. So what I'm thinking about maybe is putting clutch on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the clutch, click on to assign, and there we go. And I go, clutch isn't going to work, all right, because obviously it's been used elsewhere. So I'm going to remove that. So I'll click on the clutch and remove him, all right. Now what I'll do instead is, that's a 3-day task. I'm going to go back up here, click onto that, make this 3 days. So I just want to see only those resources that are available during that time. And there you go. So it looks like Herman would be available. All right. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to click onto Herman, click onto assign, and there we go. Close it up, and we're ready to go. So then I'm going to get my little smart tag there. I can click onto that. It says you added a resource. Do you want to increase the amount of work but keep the same duration? No. But in essence, I do want to do that. But what I'll do is I'll choose that, all right? But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over here and reduce that down to 2 days. I'm going to do that instead. I'll enter that in. Of course, it's still going to give me another little marker there, so I'll go back to it again, and it says you decreased it. You want to decrease the work but keep the hours, resources, work per day the same. Yes. So we'll choose that, and now we're done. Now, so let's see what we do with our statistics now. So we'll go back into the project information, statistics, and now it still looks like we haven't done enough. So evidently what's happened, because I've got 1 day of variance, is still ending on the 11th. One of the things we have to think about is that we might have pulled it back a little bit, all right, if we changed that one. So we made that into 2 days, but the problem is we pulled it back, but there's a weekend here, or a holiday, that it couldn't, go back to. So because that couldn't pull back, nothing else could pull back. So I kind of wasted my shot there. But I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it just to kind of get that going. But what I'm going to do now is maybe look a little bit further down here, all right, and see what I've got over here that might make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to get in touch with Gomez on this one. And I'm going to say, Gomez, I need to trim this particular task in half. I want to get this down to 3 days. And Gomez says, hey, no problem. You're just going to have to go ahead and give me another resource, give me another person, so that we can get this done, twice as fast. And it just so happens that we've got Gomez only working 50% anyway. So it's a tough one. So we're going to go back and go back to our resource again here. Go to our assign resources, all right? And on this one, it's a 6-day task. I'm going to say, okay, show me all the resources that are available for 6 days, all right? And it just so happens that it looks like Herman would be available. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Herman and assign Herman at 100%. All right. And then we'll close that up. We can look through here, just make sure nothing happened as far as the red guys, and nothing did happen. And then we're going to go ahead and trim this down then to 3 days. Enter that in. We'll go back to it, hit the tag, confirm what we want to do here. All right. And now it looks like we got a little bang for our buck, because if I go back into project, go to project information, go to my statistics, I'm going to see that, wow, we are now a negative 3 days. We're basically 3 days ahead of schedule. We're ending on the 5th, which is pretty powerful. All right. And in essence, I mean, if you think about it, we got a weekend to contend with here too. So we actually are saving. We're actually going to be ending 5 days before what was planned. All right. And the only downside really is the fact that it's going to cost a little bit more, but at least we're going to get it done on time. See. And actually before that, given if everything else stays the same, right? So now we've got somewhat good news for the boss. You know, yeah, we got it back. We're back to being, you know, in essence, 5 days ahead of schedule. And the downside, though, is we've got a few $1,000s over budget that we are. But, you know, we have to do what we have to do. All right, so now we'll go back to the top here. I'll go back to my task and hit my scroll to task there to get all kind of lined up there. All right, so now it turns out that it's much further into the future. So now we're going to tell the computer, or make the computer think that it's June 2nd. So we'll go back to project information, and we will change our, oh, I meant July 2nd, sorry about that. We're going to change our date now to July 2nd. There we go. Hit OK. So there's our date line. And we need to get an idea of which task we need to be checking up on. So we'll just go back into view. We'll go to our highlight, and we'll go ahead and click on the late tasks. And there they are. All right. So I think that's about it. All right. Now, what's kind of interesting about this first group here that haven't been completed yet, we haven't tracked them yet, but we'll see what happens there. But here's our date line here. So what's kind of interesting about these guys here, though, is that even if I get hold of the resource and find out what's happening, even if they tell me it's going to take longer, it's not going to have any effect on my overall project, because as you can see here, these are, in essence, what? They're non-critical tasks, meaning that if they get extended out, they're not going to have any bearing on, you know, the rest of the project. So it's kind of interesting to think that. But at the same time, if it turns out that some of these tell me, oh yeah, we did finish it, but we ended up taking, you know, more days, it's going to end up costing my project more money, right? The cost is going to go up, though the you know, the termination date, the ending date of the project will not be affected, right? So anyway, so it turns out that we get hold of Clutch here for this first one here, and he says, yep, we finished it on time, no problem. Great. So we'll go back over to task, mark it 100% complete, and that's it on that one. For this guy here, though, Clutch again, Clutch says, oh, this actually took us 6 days. Great, so I have to change that to 6 days. All right. And this is a little dilemma that happens when we're kind of faking things out here, and that is we run into an overallocation area, meaning that because the resources that were on this one, Clutch and Herman, were needed elsewhere, you know, on those extra 2 days. So when we changed this from 4 days to 6 days, that was an extra 2 days, and those 2 days ended up where we used those two resources at the last 2 days, which were where they were supposed to be used elsewhere, right? So I guess we're going to assume that they weren't able to work properly on AE, AF, BD, and anything else that might be down here, right? So what do? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to level the whole thing and make the leveling the truth. In other words, it extended out some of the other tasks here. So we're going to have to go back over here to resource, and I'm just going to tell it to level all. Boom, just like that. I'm not going to go through the step-by-step thing. I'm just going to hit level all. All right. Now in doing that, what's happened though is that some of these tasks got extended further out. And I can get an idea of what changed because I can see in this lighter blue, you know, the fact that they must have changed because of the fact of the highlight, you know, that light blue that's in there that shows us that has changed. Now, while we're at it, let's talk about something else here. We have another view of our project that will show, first of all, what our baseline budget was compared to what it actually is. If we go over here to the format, you'll notice on here, there's a item here called baseline. If we click on a baseline and then we choose baseline, it will apply the baseline onto our project. And what you end up seeing then is that kind of like that gray area showing what it originally was, and then you can see the actual with the other colors there. I mean, so when you look at something like this one here, this task here was way over here. It slipped over to here because of what has been going on with our project, right? And you can go down further and further and see how much we've actually slipped here, right? And it's pretty mind-boggling. So at this point, if we look at the very end of our project, you can at least see that we are still on focus here. So it didn't change anything there. So that worked okay. Now another tool we have as well, let me get back up to the top here, is the slippage. All right, and this shows how much things have slipped off of the baseline. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring this back here. So at this point, and it might be a little bit too much to look at here, but again, you can click onto there, click on the baseline, all right, and you'll see a little black underline there, and that's showing you the slippage. Well, you knew the slippage just from the fact of having the baseline, which looks like that little concrete slab, versus either the blue or the red bar. This is also something that you can print out from what we've learned earlier, and your boss or whoever can look at that and get an idea that where things went awry and where you came in and came to the rescue and kind of fixed it so that it ended up well at the very end. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear off the highlight, get rid of that, get it back to what we had. So now I'm going to go ahead and speed things up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and tell the machine, tell the program that our project is now completely. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is set the date to be Monday the 10th of 2020. So I'm going to go back into project. I'm going to go to my project information. All right. And I'm going to say the current date now is going to be 2/10/2020. hit OK on that, and that will send the date line all the way to the very end there, as you can see. And then what I'm going to do is mark pretty much everything up to date, and that means we're going to end up getting then a completion for everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and just highlight everything here, kind of speed up the whole process here. I think you guys have the idea of how we go about tracking the project, right? I mean, if you're doing it in real time, it would be just you going in every day and doing what we did, all right? If you wanted to pretend that you were tracking, in other words, you wanted to kind of pretend like it's real time, then you'd go ahead and you keep on changing the date over in the project information and kind of work it from there. So I'll go back over now to my task here. I'm going to go ahead and mark on track, and thus, because it's the very end, everything's on track. So there we go. You could then maybe print this out, send it to your boss, or you could do that. Plus, you could also go into project information here, go to your statistics, and see what we really ended up with. So we were able to be able to pull it off where we were able to finish the project actually, on time. And we ended up spending about $15,000, or we were $15,000 over budget, which, I think given what we have here as far as the dollars go, that was pretty good, even though it was all fake. Okay, so hopefully this will come in handy, give you some ideas for when you go to track your project.